The door to O'Malley's restroom slammed shut behind us like the crack of a judge's gavel, sealing out the muffled roar of the Friday night crowd. Jonathan's hand clamped over my mouth before I could even gasp, his body pressing mine against the sticky tile wall, all 6'2" of him trembling with something feral and broken. "Taylor," he hissed, his whiskey breath hot against my ear. "Don't scream, Eric's out there, and if he hears this, we're both done." I froze, my heart jackhammering against my ribs, the world narrowing to the frantic pulse in his grip and the faint scent of his cologne. Sandalwood and regret, mixing with the sour tang of spilled beer on the floor. It had started like any other brutal week at the agency. Deadlines bleeding into nights, my sketches for the new Nike campaign scattered across my desk like confetti from a failed party. Jonathan Hale, creative director and the man who'd yanked me out of obscurity 2 years ago, had clapped me on the back after the pitch meeting, his smile all teeth and triumph. "Killer work, kid. Beers on me." But then, in the elevator down from the 22nd floor, he'd gone quiet, his eyes flicking to mine with that loaded intensity he'd been dodging for months. Now, here we were, crammed into this fluorescent hellhole, and the words he finally choked out shattered everything I'd built in my head. "I'm leaving Sarah. For you. But Eric. God, Taylor. Eric's the one who told her about us." Chicago's skyline glittered like a cruel promise through the grimy window of my L train ride home that first morning after the interview, the kind of gray dawn that makes you believe in reinvention. I'd been 26 then, fresh off a botched MFA from the School of the Art Institute, crashing on Eric's lumpy couch in Wicker Park with nothing but a portfolio of half-baked digital collages and a student loan statement that read like a death threat. Eric, my best friend since that awkward freshman orientation at DePaul, where we'd bonded over stolen drags from a menthol cigarette and a shared hatred for our lit prof's droning lectures, had pulled strings at his uncle's firm to get me the interview. "You're too good for barista gigs, Tay," he'd said, ruffling my hair like I was still the scrawny kid he'd dragged to his first Pride parade. "Hale's agency is gold. Just don't fuck it up by staring at the hot boss." Jonathan Hale wasn't just hot. He was the kind of man who made boardrooms feel like confessionals. Mid-40s, broad-shouldered from weekend hikes in the Indiana dunes, with that effortless Midwestern charm polished by a Yale MBA. Blue eyes that crinkled when he laughed, a voice like aged bourbon that could sell sand to a beach. Married to Sarah, a high-powered litigator with a laugh like wind chimes and a brownstone in Lincoln Park that screamed old money. They were the poster couple for the agency's holiday parties. Her in emerald silk, him in tailored wool, toasting clients with flutes of Veuve, while I nursed a ginger ale in the corner, sketching their silhouettes on napkins. From day one it was there, the spark, a lingering glance during brainstorms, his fingers brushing mine when handing over coffee runs. "Taylor's got vision," he'd say in meetings, leaning back in his leather chair, tie loosened just enough to show the hollow of his throat. I'd flush, bury myself in Photoshop layers, tell myself it was nothing. I was the new guy, the gay kid from the suburbs who'd come out to his Baptist folks at 19 and gotten the silent treatment for a year. Work was survival, not seduction. Eric would grill me over late-night pizza. "Dude, Hale's straight as an arrow. Sarah's knocked up with twins. Remember? Keep it professional." But Eric's eyes would linger too, a flicker of something hungry when he crashed at my desk after hours, his knee pressing mine under the table. The affair ignited 6 months in, on a snow-whipped December night when the office holiday gala turned into an after-party at some rooftop lounge in the Loop. Sarah was in D.C. for a case, Jonathan nursing a Scotch neat, his cufflinks glinting under the string lights. We talked for hours about his undergrad days dodging Vietnam protests, my failed attempt at a graphic novel about a queer ghost haunting Route 66. "You're not like the others, Taylor," he'd murmured, his hand on my wrist as the city blurred below. "You see the bones of things." Then, in the cab back to his hotel, some excuse about crashing there to beat the storm, he'd kissed me. Slow at first, tentative, like testing cracked ice, then devouring, his stubble scraping my jaw as we tumbled onto the king bed. It was messy, urgent. Shirts yanked off, belts clattering to the carpet, his body heavy and sure over mine, whispering my name like a prayer. "This is insane," he'd gasped afterward, forehead pressed to mine. But his arms didn't let go. We carved out stolen hours after that, lunch meetings in his office with the blinds drawn. Weekends when Sarah visited her folks in Milwaukee. He'd text me playlists of Springsteen covers, leave voicemails about sunsets over Lake Michigan that sounded like love letters. I fell hard, the kind of bone-deep ache that made every sketch bolder, every deadline a thrill. Eric noticed, of course. "You're glowing, Tay." Spill. I'd laugh it off, blame the kale smoothies, but guilt gnawed at me. Jonathan was married, compartmentalized, our thing a secret annex to his real life. "It's temporary," he'd say, tracing my collarbone in the dim light of my studio apartment. "Until I figure out how to tell her." I'd nod, swallow the doubt, because in those moments, with his head on my chest and the L rumbling past, it felt like forever. Eric became the glue, the confidant. We'd hit dive bars in Andersonville, him pounding IPAs while I sipped whiskeys, dissecting the mess. "Hale's playing you, man," he'd warn, his green eyes sharp under the neon glow. "Straight dudes always do." But then he'd soften, sling an arm around me. "Nah, you deserve this. Just be careful." Eric was chaos incarnate. Tattooed arms from his barista days. A laugh that filled rooms. The one who'd held my hand at my grandma's funeral when no one else would. We'd hooked up once, freshman year, drunk on cheap tequila, but it fizzled into friendship. He was seeing some musician now, a drummer with a lip ring. But nights like these, with Jonathan's texts lighting up my phone, Eric's jealousy simmered unspoken. The Nike pitch was our pinnacle. Weeks of all-nighters, Jonathan and I shoulder to shoulder in the war room, pizza boxes piling like modern art. "This is it, Taylor," he'd said the morning of, his hand squeezing my thigh under the conference table. "We're unstoppable." And we were. The clients ate it up, high fives all around, promises of bonuses that meant rent money and maybe a down payment on a real place. That's when he pulled me aside in the emptying hallway, his face ashen under the fluorescence. "O'Malley's. 8 sharp. Don't tell anyone." My stomach flipped, excitement, dread, the cocktail that defined us. The bar was a relic. Peanut shells crunching underfoot, jukebox crooning Johnny Cash, a crowd of off-duty cops and ad execs drowning the week's sins. Jonathan was at a corner booth, nursing a Jameson, his tie gone, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. "You made it," he said, voice rough, sliding a glass my way. We talked shop at first, revisions, the VP's golf invite. But his knee pressed mine under the table, insistent, and soon his fingers were tracing mine on the scarred wood. "Sarah's been distant," he confessed over the second round. "Therapy sessions, questions I can't answer." My chest tightened. This was the precipice. What if we just went for it? I whispered, bold from the buzz. His smile was ghost-haunted. "Tonight, after this." That's when Eric appeared, materializing from the crowd like a bad omen. His leather jacket slung over one shoulder, grin wolfish. "Fancy running into you suits." He clapped Jonathan's back too hard, slid in beside me, his thigh hot against mine. Small talk turned barbed, Eric ribbing Jonathan about corporate sellouts. Jonathan's laugh strained. I excused myself to the John, splashing water on my face, staring at my reflection. Flushed cheeks, dilated pupils, the attic's glow. The door banged open, and there was Jonathan, locking it behind him, eyes wild as a cornered animal. "Don't scream," he'd said, and then the flood. The love, the leaving, and Eric's name like a grenade. "He saw us, Taylor. Last month, in the parking garage. Kissed you goodbye like it was nothing." My mind reeled. That night, rain-slicked asphalt, Jonathan's mouth fierce on mine before he drove off to family dinner. Eric's car had been there idling. "He cornered me yesterday," Jonathan continued, voice fracturing. "Said he'd tell Sarah everything unless I gave him a piece of the Nike account. Promotion. But it's more than that. He wants you to hurt." Betrayal hit like ice water. Eric, my anchor, twisting the knife for what? Jealousy? Leverage? Jonathan's hands cupped my face, thumbs brushing tears I hadn't felt fall. "I chose you. Always you. But we have to end this clean, or it'll destroy us all. We stumbled out separately, the bar's haze choking me. Eric was gone, vanished into the night. Jonathan walked me to the L, his arm brushing mine one last time. "Think on it," he murmured. "My place tomorrow. We'll fix this." But as the train rattled north, Chicago's lights smearing like wet paint, all I could see was Eric's grin, Jonathan's desperation, and the fragile empire we'd built crumbling underfoot. The next morning dawned brutal. Hangover headache, phone silent. I texted Eric, "Where'd you bolt to last night?" No reply. Jonathan's message pinged mid-coffee. "Come over. Sarah's at brunch." My hands shook as I shaved, the razor nicking my jaw like a warning. The brownstone loomed on Fullerton, all ivy and privilege, Sarah's Prius absent from the drive. Jonathan answered in sweats, hollow-eyed, pulling me into the foyer where family photos mocked from the walls. Him and her at weddings, beaches, a ultrasound printout framed like art. "Kids on the way," he said, voice flat, leading me to the kitchen. "Due in May." We sat at the island, mugs steaming, the silence a third wheel. "Tell me about Eric," I finally said, the words tasting like ash. Jonathan's gaze dropped. It started small. He asked for advice on his portfolio, wants to jump ship to creative. I mentored him, dinners, nothing weird. Then the garage. He rubbed his temples. He texted me pics. Blurry, but enough. "Promote me or she sees." I stalled, but yesterday he upped it. Said he'd go public, HR, the works. "Ruin you too." My stomach churned. Eric, who'd crashed my coming out party with balloons and bad karaoke. Now this? Why me? I whispered. Jonathan reached across, his fingers lacing mine. "Because he's always wanted what you have. The talent. Us." The kiss that followed was salvation and damnation. Soft at first, then crashing. His chair scraping back as he lifted me onto the counter. Mugs toppling in slow motion. We were fire and forgiveness. His mouth mapping my neck, my legs wrapping his waist, the domesticity of the kitchen twisting into something profane. "I love you," he groaned against my skin, hands urgent. And I believed him, even as doubt whispered. Afterward, tangled in a guest room quilt, he traced my tattoos. A rainbow flag inked on my rib from Pride 19, and confessed the rest. The therapy, the suppressed college fling with a roommate, the marriage as armor against the world's judgment. "Sarah deserves better," he said. "But you make me brave." We dozed into afternoon, waking to her key in the lock. Panic surged. I bolted to the bathroom, heart in throat, while he smoothed sheets. Voices drifted up, her bright, his strained. Something about a client dinner. I slipped out the back, alley shadow swallowing me. Texting Eric again. "We need to talk. Now." His reply, Logan Square. Brew Yard. 6. The brewery was hipster hell. Communal tables, sour Alesh, Eric at the bar in his beanie, looking every inch the artist he'd never be. "Tay, what's the crisis?" His hug was too tight, eyes scanning mine like a lie detector. We grabbed a corner booth, IPAs foaming, and I laid it out, blunt, furious. The pictures, the threats. "What the fuck, man?" His face crumpled, then hardened. "He told you." Not a question. "Yeah," I snapped. "And Sarah knows?" Eric laughed, bitter. "Not yet, but she will unless." He leaned in, voice low. "Unless you back off." Hill's mind, Tay, has been since that mentorship bullshit. You swooped in with your pretty sketches, and I got scraps. The pieces slotted, the after-hours hangouts, Eric's sudden interest in ad work, the way he'd linger at Jonathan's desk. Jealousy, raw and rotting. "You slept with him?" I choked. Eric's shrug was a blade. "Once. To stake claim. He's straight curious, Tay, you'll break him." "I won't." Rage boiled. I shoved back from the table, ale sloshing. "You're a traitor." His eyes flashed hurt, then steel. "And you're delusional. Check your phone." A text from an unknown. A photo, time-stamped last week. Me and Jonathan in the office, mid-kiss, blinds agape. Eric's doing. Leverage, he said. For all of us. I fled into the dusk, legs burning toward home, the city a blur of honks and neon. Wicker Park's brownstones mocked my chaos, Eric's key still under the mat. Inside, our shared space. His drum kit in the corner, my easel by the window, felt poisoned. I packed a duffel. Clothes, laptop, the sketchbook of Jonathan's face I'd hidden. Called a rideshare to a motel off Milwaukee Avenue, cheap and anonymous. Curled on the lumpy bed, I scrolled our texts. Jonathan's miss you already, Eric's proud of you, bro. Lies layered like varnish. Dawn brought resolve. I showed up at the agency early, badge beeping me through glass doors. Jonathan's office was dark. I waited, sketching feverishly on a legal pad. Fractured hearts, shadowed lovers. He arrived at 8, coffee in hand, freezing at the sight of me. Taylor, what happened? I thrust the phone at him, the photo glaring. His face drained. Eric. We huddled, plotting. HR reports, lawyer calls, a clean break from the poison. But as his arms folded around me, the door swung open. Sarah, elegant in wool coat, eyes like shattered glass. Jonathan? Who's this? The air thickened. She knew Eric's work, no doubt. Taylor Ellis, she said, voice arctic. The intern. Not intern, junior designer, but the diminishment stung. Jonathan stepped forward, words tumbling. The affair, the lies, the baby on the way. She listened, unblinking, then turned to me. Get out. I did, elevator plummeting like my gut, the lobby a gauntlet of stairs. Outside, rain lashed the pavement, soaking me to bone as I wandered aimlessly, past the Bean, the Picasso monuments to distorted reflection. Eric found me at a coffee shop on Clark, drenched and shivering, 2 macchiatos steaming between us. I did it for you, he lied, green eyes pleading. Hale's toxic, married, closeted. You'll thank me. I laughed, hollow. You did it for you. The fight was epic. Accusations flying, old wounds ripped. His string of ghosted lovers, my perfect life. You're scared, I spat, of being alone. He flinched, then softened. Maybe, but I love you, Tay, as more than friends. The confession hung, a ghost of that tequila night. I stood, leaving cash for the drinks. Not enough to break me. Back at the motel, Jonathan's call lit my screen. She's filing. I told her everything. His voice cracked. Meet me? The dunes. Drive time. I agreed, the Indiana border a blur of taillights. We hiked at twilight, waves crashing like applause. His hand in mine the only anchor. What now? He asked, sand gritting our shoes. Us, I said, simple as breath. But doubt lingered. Eric's photo, Sarah's eyes, the agency's whispers. Weeks blurred, mediation sessions, NDAs signed in triplicate. Jonathan crashed at my place, our bodies a map of solace, but the joy was edged. Eric vanished, quit the agency, ghosted our lease, a note on the fridge. Sorry. Find your truth. I mourned him, the brother I'd lost to his own demons. The climax hit on a muggy July Eve, agency rooftop party for the Nike launch. Chicago sprawled below, fireworks blooming over the lake. Jonathan and I, official now, his hand on my waist, my sketches framed on easels, felt invincible. Then Eric, uninvited, suit rumpled, eyes red-rimmed. Congrats, he slurred, bottle in fist. To the golden boys. Jonathan tensed. I stepped forward. Why? Eric's laugh broke. Because I couldn't have you, so I burned it down. He lunged. Not at us, but the display, easel toppling, glass shattering. Security hauled him off, his sobs echoing. I love you, Tay. Both of you. In the aftermath, Jonathan held me as sirens wailed. He's broken, he murmured. Like we all are. We drove to the lakefront, toes in water, stars pricking the haze. Forgive him, Jonathan asked. I thought of Eric's laugh, his hand at the funeral. Someday, but not today. We kissed, salt-tanged and sure, the city our witness. Months later, autumn leaves carpeting Grant Park, Jonathan proposed. Not ring, but promise. Over hot dogs from a cart, knees on dew-wet grass. Build with me, he said. Sarah got the brownstone, co-parenting ironclad. The twins came, boy and girl, and he cried at the hospital, FaceTiming me from the hall. Eric surfaced in a letter, rehab address scribbled. I was wrong. Be happy. I wrote back, no absolution but peace. Chicago winters softened us. Shoveling sidewalks, gallery openings for my solo show, Jonathan's novel manuscript yellowing on the shelf. Love isn't shatterproof. It's the glue after the break. And in the quiet, with his head on my pillow and the elves hum our lullaby, I knew. We'd earned this, scars and all. The scars, though, they itched. Not the visible ones, like the faint line from that childhood bike crash on the towpath, but the invisible tally. Trust fractured, nights staring at ceilings while Jonathan snored softly beside me, replaying Eric's meltdown on the rooftop like a bad loop in Final Cut Pro. Fall turned to winter, the agency humming with holiday buzz. Eggnog in the break room, forced carols over the PA, but I moved through it like a ghost, sketches sharper but joy muted. Jonathan noticed, of course. Talk to me, Tay, he'd say over takeout pad thai. Chopsticks paused midair. I'd deflect with jokes about client revisions or the Bears' latest fumble. But his eyes, those damn blue anchors, held steady until I cracked. It was mid-December, a Friday gassed on mulled wine at the office party redux. This time it's some speakeasy in River North, velvet curtains and jazz trios that made you feel like Gatsby with a trust fund. Sarah had dropped off the kids earlier, a handoff in the lobby that was all polite nods and no eye contact, her perfume lingering like accusation. They're beautiful, I'd said, peeking at the photos on his phone. Chubby cheeks, tufts of dark hair like his. She'd smiled, tight. They are. Then gone, heels clicking into the snow. The speakeasy was packed. Execs in Santa hats, interns snapping selfies with the sax player. Jonathan and I stuck to corners, his arm a casual drape over my shoulders. PDA measured, the agency's new inclusive policy a fragile shield. To us, he toasted with his old-fashioned, clinking my gin fizz. The warmth spread, loosening knots, until Eric's name surfaced unbidden. I wrote him again. I confessed, was making me bold. Told him about the show, inviting him if he wants. Jonathan's brow furrowed. You sure? After. I nodded. Fierce. Humanity, John. It's not erasure. He pulled me onto the tiny dance floor then, bodies swaying to What a Wonderful World. His chin on my crown. You're too good, he murmured. And for a moment, it was perfect. Sweat-slick skin, bass thrumming in my chest, the world reduced to his heartbeat. But perfection's a liar. As the song faded, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. Congrats on the show. I'll be there. My stomach flipped. Thrill, terror, the old cocktail. Jonathan read it over my shoulder, jaw tight. Boundaries, Tay. But his kiss was approval, lingering. The gallery opening was my first real shot. A solo exhibit at some up-and-coming spot in Pilsen, murals splashed on brick walls outside, my digital prints inside, queer Americana, ghosts of lovers in neon-lit diners, highways stretching to nowhere. Route 66 Requiem. The catalog called it, critics buzzing pre-show emails that made my palms sweat. Jonathan handled the logistics. Wine pours, name tags, his charm schmoozing collectors while I floated, suit itchy, thanking strangers for evocative and raw. Sarah even came, solo, twins with a sitter, her black dress a shadow in the crowd. Proud of you, she said, clinking my plastic cup. He talks about your work non-stop. Awkward grace. We were exes-in-law now, bound by fallout. Then Eric arrived, fashionably late, sober from the looks of his clear eyes and steady gait. Leaner, maybe, cheekbones sharper, but that grin, devastating. Tay. He hugged me, brief but electric, stubble grazing my cheek. This is, fuck, man. You're a star. We talked, halting at first, rehab stories, his new gig bartending at a queer lounge in Boys Town, AA meetings that sounded like confessionals. I fucked up, he said plain, no excuses. Jealousy ate me alive. Seeing you with him, it was like losing the only home I had. I swallowed the crowd a buffer. You were home, Eric. Then you torched it. His nod was heavy. Making amends. Step 9 or whatever. Jonathan hovered nearby. Polite nod. But tension crackled. Old rivals in truce. The night peaked with a sale. Some tech bro snagging the centerpiece. A triptych of fractured mirrors reflecting intertwined silhouettes. Champagne popped. Toasts rang. Eric cornered me in the back alley during a smoke break. Him on a cig, me on air. The city's pulse thrumming distant. He's good for you, he said, exhaling smoke rings. Better than I could have been. The vulnerability hit hard. I pulled him into a hug, brothers again. The betrayal scar tissue stretching but holding. Don't be a stranger, I whispered. He pulled back, eyes searching. Promise. Winter deepened, holidays a minefield. Jonathan and I hosted small, just us and Sarah's video call with the kids unwrapping toys in footy jammies. Uncle Taylor! The girl squealed through the screen, waving a stuffed bear. Laughter bubbled, real and ragged. New Year's, we rang in on the balcony of our new place. Logan Square walk-up, exposed brick and my easel by the bay window. Fireworks exploding over the skyline. To reinvention, Jonathan toasted, pulling me close. But as midnight chimed, my mind wandered to Eric. Alone maybe, nursing a NA soda. I texted, Happy New York. Doors open. His reply, thanks. Working on it. Spring thawed the ice, literally and not. Lake Michigan lapping blue, tulips rioting in the parks. The agency promoted me. Senior designer, my own team, and Jonathan beamed at the announcement. Though whispers lingered about that drama last year. We took weekends away. Cabin in Door County, cherry blossoms and bonfires, his body familiar now, mapped with kisses. Marry me, he said one night, stars wheeling overhead. No knee, just truth. I laughed, tears pricking. Thought you'd never ask. Rings came later, simple bands, engraved with coordinates of that first hotel room. But conflict brews and calm. Eric's amends turned sticky. He crashed our movie nights, beers swapped for seltzers, his presence a comfortable haunt. Too comfortable, maybe. One humid June Eve, post-barbecue on our fire escape. Ribs sticky, sun dipping gold. Jonathan stepped out for ice, leaving us alone. Eric's knee bumped mine, lingering. Missed this, he murmured, voice low. Us before. My pulse quickened, old sparks flickering. Eric. A warning, but his hand found my thigh, tentative. The door slid open, Jonathan frozen, carton in hand. Silence stretched, taut as wire. What the hell? Jonathan's voice was even, but eyes thunder. Eric bolted upright, apologies tumbling. Nothing, man. Just, I stood, heart pounding. Talk. Now. The fire escape cleared. Inside, air thick. Jonathan paced the living room, ice melting on the counter. Tell me it's nothing. It wasn't Eric's touch a ghost, but real enough to sting. He's family, I said, lame. Jealousy's his default. Jonathan stopped, facing me. And yours. The accusation landed. Doubt, that old fiend, reared. We'd built on ruins, his marriage, my naivete. Was it solid? We hashed it. Boundaries redrawn, Eric on pause. He got it, emailed an apology. Overstepped. Won't happen. Summer rolled on, agency crunch for a Super Bowl spot. Me leading, Jonathan overseeing, Synergy Electric. Sarah started dating, some professor with a beard. Jonathan toasted her at a co-parent picnic, twins giggling in the grass. Growth, he called it, squeezing my hand under the blanket. The real shatter came in August, a sweltering heat wave turning the city to soup. I was in the studio late, tweaking renders when my phone rang, hospital prefix. Taylor Ellis? It's about Jonathan Hale. Accident on the Dan Ryan semi-jackknifed. The world tilted. I drove like hell, tires screaming, arriving to sterile halls and Sarah in the waiting room, face ashen. He's stable, she said, voice small. Broken leg, concussion. Drunk driver. Relief crashed, then questions. Why him on the expressway? Work errand, he'd say later. But in recovery, truths oozed. Vicodin haze. Monitors beeping. He confessed. Called Eric. After the fight. Needed to vent. My blood chilled. About us. Nod. He listened. Then. Offered comfort. The implication hung, had they? Jonathan's eyes pleaded. Just talk, Tay. Swear. But doubt festered. I stormed out, calling Eric from the parking garage. What did you do? His denial was swift. Nothing. He was wrecked, man. Lies or not, the seed planted. Convalescence was hell. Jonathan hobbling on crutches. Our bed a war zone of pillows and resentment. I slept on the couch, sketching nightmares. Lovers splintering like glass. Sarah mediated, dropping meals, her presence a bridge. Men are idiots, she said one night over wine. Kids asleep in the guest room. But he loves you. Fierce. Her forgiveness humbled. We'd all lost, gained. Climax brewed at Labor Day. A forced reconciliation barbecue at her place. Neutral ground. Eric showed. Uninvited but welcomed by the twins' chaos. Grills smoked, beers cracked, his NA. And under the string lights, tensions simmered. Jonathan grilled me, literally burgers flipping, his crutch propped nearby. Miss you, he whispered. I softened, almost. Then Eric, tossing a frisbee with the boy, caught my eye, that grin weaponized. Night fell. Kids down, adults loose. Sarah retired early, leaving us three on the patio, fire pit crackling. To healing, Jonathan toasted. Eric clinked. Then, Tay, about that night. The air shifted. I kissed him, Jonathan, after the call. He was vulnerable. I was weak. Jonathan's face blanched. What? No. But Eric pressed. It happened. Quick. Regretted. But transparency, right? Betrayal redux, sharper, not threat, but action. I stood, chair scraping. You son of a... Jonathan grabbed my arm. Lies. He's lying to hurt us. Chaos erupted. Shouts, accusations, Sarah appearing in robe. Eric fled into the dark, sobs trailing. Jonathan and I drove home silent, rain sheeting the windshield. At the apartment, it boiled over. Fists clenched, words like shrapnel. You called him. He prayed. Trust that fragile rebuild crumbled. Maybe we rushed, I gasped. Maybe we're broken. He pulled me close, desperate. Fight for it. We did, raw on the floor, clothes shed in fury, bodies colliding like storm fronts. Not gentle, but honest. Scratches, bites, tears mingling sweat. Dawn brought armistice. Therapy, Jonathan said. All three of us, if needed. I agreed, the hurt too deep for solo. Eric texted, truth hurts. Sorry for the mess. We met, neutral coffee shop in Uptown, awkward as hell. Why? I demanded. His shrug. Sabotage. Thought it'd push you back to me. Jonathan's hand on mine steadied. No more games. Eric nodded, eyes wet. I release you. Both. Fall returned, leaves turning, therapy sessions in a Lincoln Park office, couches sagging, Kleenex boxes handy. We unpacked. Jonathan's closet shame. My abandonment fears from Dad's silence. Eric's chaos as cry for love. Human, messy. Sarah joined once, for co-parent boundaries. The four of us unlikely allies. By Thanksgiving, fractures mended, not seamless, but strong. Eric dated a bar regular, steady. Jonathan walked unaided. Novel submitted to agents. We hosted full table. Sarah, kids, Eric with his guy. Turkey carved, stories swapped, laughter real. Family, Jonathan said. Foot hooking mine under the cloth. I smiled whole. Winter solstice, rooftop under stars. He slipped the ring on, simple platinum, etched with shatterproof. Not perfect, he whispered, but ours. Eric, from across the roof, raised a glass. To the queers who break and build. Cheers echoed. Chicago's lights are constellation. Love's not a straight line. It's the detour, the crack where light slips in. And in that glow, with Jonathan's warmth against me and the city's hum below, I breathed easy. Shattered, yes, but remade. Remade, but not unscathed. The new year slunk in like a hungover guest. All resolutions and regrets. Chicago's wind off the lake whipping resolutions to shreds before they could stick. Therapy stuck, though weekly rituals in that beige office, where Dr. Ramirez, with her no-nonsense bob and endless notepads, coaxed confessions like a bartender pouring shots. Vulnerability isn't weakness, she'd say, eyeing Jonathan's clenched jaw or Eric's fidgeting hands. Me? I drew doodles on margins, fractured figures mirroring our words. It worked, slow as sap, binding us in ways sex or apologies couldn't. January's agency crunch was a beast. The Super Bowl spot aired to buzz. My vision, Jonathan's polish, clients popping champagne in the screening room. You're a force, the VP said, clapping my back, and for once, it landed without imposter syndrome's sting. But success amplified shadows. Rumors resurfaced, whispers in the break room about the love triangle that wasn't. Sarah fielded calls from mutuals, her lawyer hat on. Defamation's a stretch, but watch your backs. Jonathan shrugged it off over dinner. Steak frites at that French spot in Andersonville. But I saw the toll, lines etching deeper around his eyes. Eric, meanwhile, bloomed in rehab's afterglow. His bar gig turned managerial. He DJ'd queer nights at the lounge, spinning indie electronica that packed the dance floor. Found my lane, he texted with a selfie. Him behind decks, lights strobing his tattoos. We met for coffee sans Jonathan once, tentative neutral ground at a Ukrainian bakery in Ukrainian village. Paxki dusted with sugar like forgotten snow. Missed you, he said, biting into raspberry. The real you. I nodded, the ache dull now. Missed my idiot brother. No sparks, just solidity, forged in fire. But romance, that fickle muse, tested us. Valentine's loomed, and Jonathan planned big. Weekend in New York, his treat. City that never sleeps for the ones who do. I laughed, packing my sketchpad, but nerves gnawed. Our first real getaway since the accident, since Eric's bomb. The train north was foreplay. His hand on my thigh under a shared blanket, whispers planning conquests. Manhattan hit like a fever dream. Times Square's assault, steam rising from grates, his arm anchoring me through the crush. We holed up in a Soho loft Airbnb, exposed beams and king bed, ordering dim sum and fucking like newlyweds. Slow mornings, urgent afternoons, his body a language I'd never tire of reading. Dinner at some speakeasy off Bleecker, oysters, Sancerre, candlelight dancing on his stubble. Remember Chicago? He said, toasting. That restroom, I grinned, heat pooling. Shattered me. His foot hooked mine. Rebuilt you. Dessert was us. Back at the loft, chocolate sauce licked from collarbones. Laughter bubbling as we smeared it on the sheets. But midnight brought a call, Sarah, voice edged. Twins have fevers. Can you talk to him? Jonathan did, soothing dad mode, pacing nude by the window. I watched, love swelling fierce. This man, mine in multiplicity. Return brought reality's slap. A client email, terse, creative misalignment, repitch or risk. The Super Bowl high crashed. Late nights returned, Jonathan buried in revisions, me sketching alternatives till my eyes burned. Irritation simmered, snapped words over cold coffee, silences heavy as lead. You're obsessing? I said one dawn. Him at the kitchen table, laptop glow hollowing his face. And you're retreating, he shot back. Therapy caught it. Projection. Dr. Ramirez noted. Fear of loss. We owned it, raw, him admitting marriage ghosts, me the abandonment echo. Spring equinox, renewals tease. Cherry blossoms frilling the mag mile, but conflict crested unexpected. Eric invited us to his lounge gig, Queer Prom, Rewind Edition. 90s throwback with glow sticks and Gaga remixes. Truce party, he called it. We went, Jonathan in chinos and Henley, me in ripped jeans, the crowd a riot of glitter and grind. Eric spun from a raised booth, spotting us with a whoop, dedicating a track. For the boys who broke me open, Pet Shop Boys, it's a sin. We danced, sweat slick, Jonathan's hips against mine, Eric's eyes meeting ours from above. Electric, innocent. After VIP lounge, shots his soda, toasts to no more shards. But as the night thinned, Eric pulled me aside, bathroom mirror reflecting our flushed faces. He's good for you, he said again, but his hand lingered on my arm, thumb stroking. Eric! Alarm bells. Jonathan appeared, timing impeccable. Everything, cool but jaw set. Eric backed off, mumbling. Outside, cab ride home tense. Flirting, Jonathan asked. Habit, I admitted. Yours or his? Silence. At home, it erupted. Not fists, but truths. His insecurity from Sarah's shadow. My pull to Eric's chaos as familiar drug. We need space, I said, voice cracking. He nodded, gutted. Temporary. I crashed at Eric's. Ironic, his couch the original landing pad. Nights of takeout and talks, no lines crossed. You're scared of steady, Eric diagnosed over faux. Hale's the real deal. Jonathan texted daily. Love you. Fix this. Therapy solo. Dr. Ramirez's words. Space clarifies, not severs. A week in, agency crisis. Client bailed. Team in panic. Jonathan called. Need you. Brainstorm. I went, professional armor on, but sparks flew in the war room, ideas colliding like comets. After, his office. Door locked. Us on the desk. Files scattering. Missed you, he gasped, hands reverent. Me too. No space needed. Clarity hit. Love's work. Daily. Summer solstice. Longest day. We renewed vows. Informal. Picnic in Millennium Park. Bean reflecting our tangle. Eric officiated. Joke cracking. Do you, Taylor, take this workaholic? Laughter. Rings exchanged anew. Sarah brought kids. Crowns of dandelions. They chased bubbles. Innocence bomb. But betrayals echo lingered. August heat. A package arrived. Anonymous. My name scrawled. Inside. Photos, old ones. Me and Eric freshman year. Tangled in sheets. Jonathan and Sarah's wedding, him glancing away. Note. Truths hidden hurt more. Paranoia spiked. Who? Eric swore ignorance. Jonathan hired a PI. Traced to a disgruntled ex-intern. Grudge from the drama. Payback, Jonathan said, burning the stack. But trust wobbled. I confronted Eric. Any secrets? His flinch. One. That kiss with John. More. A night post-accident. He was high, I was there. Shatter 2.0. Jonathan denied. Blacked out. Don't remember. But doubt poisoned, pillow talk turned interrogation. Sleep fractured. Choose, I demanded. Us. He did, but the rift yawned. Climax brewed at the agency gala. Black tie. Atop the Aeon Center. City at feet. We dressed sharp. Him in tux. Me in velvet blazer. Arm in arm for optics. Speeches droned. Awards gleamed. Jonathan's for Director of the Year. My name in thanks. Applause thundered. But backstage, Sarah pulled me aside. He's spiraling. The book rejection hit hard. His novel, semi-auto, Our Story Veiled. Axed by publishers. Imposter, he confessed later, champagne flute trembling. Eric cornered us in a service hall. Tux rumpled. Congrats. But Tay, he told me things. About you. Poison dart. What? Jonathan snarled. Eric. Your ex, the one before me. The artist who ghosted. Old wound. Pre-Jonathan. A painter who'd left for LA with my heart. Irrelevant. I snapped. But Jonathan's eyes. You never said. Betrayal flip. My omission his ammunition. Hallway erupted. Shouts echoing off marble. Security looming. You hide too. Jonathan roared. Eric mediated. Futile. I fled to the ledge. Wind howling. Lights blurring. Jonathan found me, coat over shoulders. Sorry. We're even. Laughter bubbled. Manic. Shattered again. His arms encircled. Remake. We left early. Cab to the lakefront. Shoes off in surf. All in, he vowed. I echoed, waves washing sins. Autumn healed. Book resubmitted. Revised with my input. Eric backed off, space his gift. Therapy thrived. Group now, the three of us, Dr. Ramirez beaming. Integration. Thanksgiving redux. Fuller table, Eric's guy charming the twins. Stories flowed, ghosts exorcised. Jonathan carved. Eyes on me. Grateful. Winter's grip loosened. Solstice party. Our place aglow. Friends, family, Sarah dancing with a date, kids twirling. Eric spun records. Jonathan pulled me close. Shatterproof. Whisper. Damn right. Love's mosaic. Cracks gold-veined. Beautiful. Beautiful but brittle, mosaics shatter too under careless feet. The year turned. 2026 dawning crisp. Resolutions whispered over black-eyed peas at a soul food joint in Bronzeville. Jonathan's hand warm in mine amid the chatter of strangers. This one's ours, he said, kissing my temple. The promise a talisman against the unknown. Work steadied. My team gelled, a junior designer. Non-binary, tattooed like Eric. Echoing my early days, mentored with care. Jonathan's novel landed an agent, small press buzz building. Readings scheduled in Wicker Park bookstores. His voice steady on pages that bled our truth. Eric stabilized, his lounge gig evolving to co-owner. Eric's echo, scrawled in neon above the door. A nod to rebounds, he'd joke. We visited opening night, crowd electric. Him in vest and bow tie, toasting with mocktails. To echoes that fade, he said, clinking. No undercurrents. His guy, Marco, a tattoo artist with a gentle laugh, grounded him. Family, Marco called us, slinging arms. Sarah's life bloomed too. Professor turned husband, twins starting preschool, playdates where I'd push swings, Jonathan reading picture books on the grass. But peace invites tempests. March Madness hit the agency. Merger talks with a LA firm, suits from California sniffing around, synergy their mantra. Layoffs loomed, whispers of cuts in creative. Jonathan, as director, bore the brunt. Meetings till midnight. His home office a bunker of spreadsheets and scotch. It's politics, he'd mutter, loosening his tie. I'd rub his shoulders, knots like stones, but resentment crept. Our bed cold, dates canceled, his distraction a wall. Remember us? I asked one April Eve, rain pattering the window. He sighed. Heavy. Trying Tay. Therapy flagged it. Resentment festers. Dr. Ramirez warned. We doubled sessions, homework, date jars, notes of intent. It helped, marginally. A weekend in Saugatuck, dunes and galleries, rekindled sparks. But merger stress peaked. A team lead axed, my junior in tears. Jonathan called the shot, face grim. Necessary evil. I confronted. Empathy, John. His snap. Survival. The fight simmered. Unspoken. Eric sensed, over beers at his bar, him soda, us light. He's scared, he said, wiping counters. Losing control. Wisdom from the reformed. And you, Marco teased, kissing his neck. Eric grinned. Learned from the best worst. Climax brewed in May. Merger vote day. Boardroom tension. Jonathan pitching retention. Past narrow LA overlords pleased, but cuts deep. That night, celebration drinks turned wake. Bar hopping the Gold Coast, shots blurring lines. Eric joined, Marco in tow, the four of us loose. To empires, Jonathan toasted, arm around me, but eyes wandered. His to a waiter, lithe and laughing. Mine catching it. Home, buzz fading, accusation flew. You stared. So did you. Petty, but Pandora's box. Old insecurities, his bicuriosity confessed in therapy. My fear of insufficiency. Am I enough? I whispered, voice small. He pulled me close. Always. But seed sown. June heat wave amplified. Air con broke. Tempers flared. A client trip. Jonathan to LA for schmooze, me holding fort. Alone, I spiraled. Texts unanswered, Instagram stories of him at pool parties, arms around execs. Paranoia texted Eric. He's distant. Reply, talk it out. Don't assume. He returned, tanned and tired, bouquet of peonies in hand. Missed you. Dinner, tie on argyle, spice burning tongues. But over mango sticky rice. Confession. Met someone. Colleague. Coffee. Nothing. Lie or half. Define nothing. His sigh. Flirt. Harmless. Betrayals kin, not physical but emotional drift. I bolted. Walking home in dusk. L overhead rumbling judgment. Couch that night, him in bed alone. Morning therapy emergency. Dr. Ramirez. Boundaries evolve. Communicate. We did raw, his stress outlet, my abandonment trigger. Choose daily, she said. Summer solstice, we recommitted. Vow renewal at the beach. Just us. Waves chaplain. Through drifts. We swore. Eric catered lobster rolls from a food truck. Marco filming on his phone. Sarah sent champagne. To navigating. But autumn winds carried Eric's gale. September. His bar hit rough. Slow season. Marco's ex-stirring drama. Stalker vibes. Restraining order filed. Eric crashed with us, spare room his nights of takeout and true crime docs. Gratitude mixed unease. Jonathan stiff. Memories raw. He's solid now, I defended. Trust the work. October surprise. Jonathan's book launch. Cozy bookstore on Milwaukee. Crowd intimate. Friends. Agents. Sarah in front row with twins on laps. He read from the dedication. To the man who saw my bones. Eyes on me, voice cracking. Applause thundered. Signing lines snaked. Eric hovered, proud, but later, over whiskey, his NA twist, confessed. Proud of you both, but Marco left. Gut punch, the ex's harassment too much, Marco bailing for saner shores. Eric crumbled. Sober tears. I ruin everything. We held him, Jonathan's arm around shoulders, my hand in his hair. Not us, I said. Therapy expanded. Group again. Marco's ghost unpacked. Patterns break, Dr. Ramirez affirmed. November chill, election night fever. We watched returns at Sarah's. Kids in PJs, tension thick. Wins, losses mirroring us. Post-midnight, Jonathan and I walked home, leaves crunching. Democracy's messy, he quipped. So's love. Laughter, hand squeeze. But betrayal's final act. December, holiday party at the agency. LA brass in town, open bar flowing. Jonathan schmoozed, me mingling, Eric as +1. Dateless but charming. A game, white elephant, gag gifts swapped, turned sour. Someone unearthed old photos, printed from HR files. The garage kiss surfaced, blurred but damning. Gasps, whispers. Who? The ex in turn, grudge eternal, slipped it in. Chaos. Jonathan white-faced, me frozen, Eric shoving through. Bullshit. Ancient history. Security cleared, but damage done. LA suits eyeing exits. Home. Fallout. Jonathan pacing. Career over. I held him. Hours intact. Eric stayed. Fortifying. Fight back. Climax in the storm. Snow blanketing. We three on the couch. Hot toddies steaming. His herbal. Why us? Jonathan asked. Eric. Because we're real. They envy. Dawn broke. Lawyer calls. Statement drafted. Agency backed us. Family, the VP said. Resolution. Merger stalled. Suits shamed. Book sales spiked. Queer lit darling. Eric rebounded. New guy from AA barista sweet. Winter's end. Solstice fire. We burned the photos. Ashes to wind. Shattered to stardust. Jonathan poetic. Eric. And back. Love's forge, heat. Hammer. Form. Formed. Finally, steel-tempered, gleaming. 2027 bloomed benevolent. Cherry trees in Jackson Park a pink haze, as if the city itself exhaled relief. The agency's scandal faded to footnote. LA suits retreating with tails tucked. Our team bolstered by hires who cared more for craft than clicks. Jonathan's book hit shelves nationwide, window displays in indie shops from Provincetown to Portland, reviews hailing a tender gut punch of queer reinvention. Readings became rituals. Him on stools under spotlights, voice gravelly with our shared secrets. Me in the audience sketching crowds, capturing the hush of recognition. Eric's bar thrived, Echo a haven. Open mics Tuesdays, drag brunches Sundays. His new beau, Riley, sketching murals on the walls. Intertwined vines, thorns dulled to blooms. Healing art, Eric called it, winking. We four doubled often. Brunches sprawling into afternoons, board games with Sarah's twins shrieking rules. Laughter layering like lacquer over old cracks. Sarah's wedding came in June, garden affair in her backyard. String quartet, peonies rampant, the professor, now Tom, beaming vows. Jonathan walked her down, arm looped, twins flower girlingy with baskets overflowing. Full circle, he whispered to me in the receiving line, his boutonniere brushing mine. I nodded, throat tight, her kiss on my cheek. Thanks for the happy ending. No bitterness, just shared survival. Our own milestone. July 4th, rooftop of our building, city fireworks our backdrop. No grand gesture, just barbecue. Ribs charred, beers chilled, Eric manning the grill in an apron scrawled, "Kiss the chaos." Jonathan pulled me aside mid-boom, sky fracturing color. Marry me, legal this time. Ring slid on, gold, etched with waves. Yes, I breathed, pulling him into the light show, bodies swaying as explosions mirrored heartbeats. Fall painted the town amber, agency award season. Cleo nod for the Super Bowl spot, gala in the Palmer House, chandeliers dripping light. We suited up, Jonathan's tux tailored sharp, mine emerald velvet nodding to pride. Eric crashed as date. Riley on his arm, the four of us turning heads. Speeches lauded bold vision. Jonathan's arm heavy on my waist during thanks. To my muse, my anchor Taylor. Whistles, cheers. Later, hotel suite comped. We celebrated horizontal. Jonathan and me tangled, Eric and Riley in the adjoining. Walls thin with shared joy. But humanism demands depth, not gloss. October brought Eric's dip. Riley ghosted. Abrupt. Texts unread. Bar stools empty beside him. Again. He vented over whiskey sours. His virgin. Face crumpled. What's wrong with me? Jonathan clapped his back. Nothing. Timing. I added, you're enough. Therapy delved, abandonment's echo, his chaos as shield. Let go, Dr. Ramirez urged. He did, slow. Solo hikes in the dunes, journal scrawled with unsent letters. Thanksgiving swelled the table. Sarah and Tom, twins rowdy with turkey legs. Eric solo but smiling, Riley's shadow fading. Jonathan carved, eyes on the circle. Grateful for fractures. Toast circled, human, halting. Sarah on resilience. Eric on amends. Me on light in cracks. Winter grip gentle, holidays a hearth. Agency party subdued. Lessons learned, no elephants, just joy. New Year's, Eric's bar. Countdown with balloons. Him DJing Auld Lang Syne remixed queer. Jonathan and I kissed at midnight. Confetti raining, Eric's arms slinging ours. To us. Spring 2028. Renewals right. My second show, Mosaic Men. Galleries in Pilsen packed. Figures pieced from shards, lovers emergent. Critics raved kintsugi of the heart. Jonathan's dedication plaque. For the breaks that bind. Eric bought the first print hung above his bar. Conflict's last whisper. June, Jonathan's ex-mentee sued. Defamation from the book. Our story too close. Lawyers circled. Stress reigniting old tics. His pacing, my sketches dark. Fight or fold? I asked. Fight, he growled. But mediation revealed truth. The kid's own closet pain, projection raw. Settlement. Quiet, with therapy stipends for queer youth. Redemption. Jonathan called it lighter. Summer solstice, Lakefront vow. Officiant a drag queen friend of Eric's. Vows handwritten. Through shatters, I choose you. Rings renewed, waves lapping. Reception at Echo. Dancing till dawn. Twins conked on blankets. Autumn harvest. Eric proposed to a new flame. Bartender, steady. Wedding small, us best men. Full circle, he echoed. Winter's hush, solstice fire. Twins read stories by flame. Sarah and Tom toasting. Eric's ring glinting. Jonathan's head on my shoulder. Human, huh? I smiled. Flawed and fierce. Years stacked. Agency evolved. Us partners proper. Book 2 brewing. My graphic novel illustrated. Eric's family grew. Adopted pup. Then talks of kids. Sarah's brood. Our nieces/nephews. Pride floats waving rainbows. Shatter scar. Faint. Gold-threaded. Love's not end. It's the daily mend. The choice in dawn light. And in Chicago's endless churn. L rumbling, lake sighing, we thrived. Shattered once, but whole. Epilogue whisper. Decades on. Gray-haired on a porch in Saugatuck. Jonathan's hand in mine. Eric's laugh from the kitchen. Sarah's call buzzing. Worth it? He asks. Every crack.